Hey there, knowledge seekers, and a super warm welcome to English Listening Boost. I'm your host, ready to get our brains buzzing.
And I'm here too, ready to explore right alongside you, digging into the details to find those really interesting insights.
You know, we totally get it. You want to understand the world and understand it well, but maybe without feeling like you're just, well, drowning in information overload.
Right.
So today, we're taking a bit of an adventure. We're moving beyond the usual big city spotlights to explore the distinct character of two really captivating American regional centers, San Antonio, Texas, and Portland, Oregon.
Yeah, two very different places.
Definitely. We've gathered a whole lot of information, and our goal here is to sort of distill it all down for you. You know, the unique lifestyles, the cultures that thrive there, what draws people in, and the economic engines behind them.
Think of it as your express route, maybe, to getting a real feel for what makes these two places tick, their own specific, land-specific appeal.
Exactly. Okay, let's dive right in. We'll start down in Texas, with a city just steeped in history.
San Antonio. Yeah, it really is a city where history isn't just, something in a textbook. It feels like a living force, something that actively shapes the city's identity right now. And what's really striking is how this deep historical foundation mixes with, well, a really rich blend of cultural influences. It creates this genuinely welcoming and vibrant atmosphere.
Absolutely. You can't even start talking about San Antonio without immediately thinking of the Alamo.
Right.
And the Spanish missions.
Right. They're iconic.
And honestly, there's so much more than just tourist stops. They feel fundamental to the city's essence. The Alamo, for instance, it was originally Mission San Antonio de Valero. It's not just some old battlefield. It represents a full 300 years of history. You can actually go there, take guided tours, see this incredible exhibit. It even includes the Phil Collins collection, believe it or not.
Wow, okay.
Yeah, and they have living history demonstrations all centered around that famous church. Plus, there are ongoing efforts like the Alamo Plan to make sure it's preserved.
And zooming out a bit, the San Antonio Missions National Historical Park, that's Concepcion, San Jose, San Juan, and Espada, the fact that it's a UNESCO World Heritage Site, that really says something.
It really does.
It highlights its global historical importance. It's not just local history, it's world history. And what I find fascinating is that 4 of the 5 missions, they still have active parish churches.
Really? So they're still in use?
Yeah. So it's not just about preserving old stones. History is an active, breathing part of the community's spiritual life, their social life today.
That's amazing. History you can actually be part of. Now, beyond the buildings, San Antonio is a real melting pot, isn't it?
Oh, definitely.
Hispanic heritage is incredibly strong. You see it everywhere. The huge Fiesta San Antonio, the Day of the Dead celebrations, you hear Spanish spoken, the amazing food, the art scene.
It permeates everything.
But it's not just that. There's significant German influences, too, and African-American heritage. You can visit the San Antonio African-American Community Archive and Museum, and Juneteenth is a really big deal there.
And you absolutely have to mention the impact of being Military City, USA. That's a huge part of its identity.
Huge. How does that play out day to day?
Well, the strong military presence really weaves through the city's fabric. It shapes the economy, obviously, but also the demographics, even the community values. You get this constant flow of people from different backgrounds.
Right, often temporary residents.
Exactly. And they interact with the established Hispanic, German, African-American cultures. It makes you wonder, how does that constant interaction support preserving traditions while also creating new blended expressions? It's a dynamic thing.
Yeah.
And we should also mention the city's welcoming attitude towards the LGBTQ+ community, and that distinct cowboy culture is still present too. It all adds layers.
It really sounds like a place with many layers, but also fundamentally welcoming. And when you look at the neighborhoods, that seems to hold true.
Yeah, definitely. You've got different vibes.
Yeah.
Southtown is often called artistic and exotic. Then there's the Pearl District, which is known for being trendy and walkable.
All right, we'll talk more about the Pearl.
And Alamo Heights has that sort of charm and tradition feel. So different flavors, but the overall spirit. It's consistently described as proud, friendly, and welcoming.
That must make it easier for newcomers to settle in, right?
Yeah.
Going to farmers markets, community events, maybe catching a Spurs game.
Absolutely. That community connection often ties right into the food scene, too. And San Antonio is, well, a food lover's paradise.
Oh, yeah.
You find everything. Classic Tex-Mex, of course, food trucks everywhere, authentic Mexican bakeries, pan dulce, and some really innovative fine dining, too.
It's not just one thing.
Not at all. And places like the Pearl District, which, like you said, was a brewery, and the famous Riverwalk have become these major culinary hotspots. It's interesting to see the evolution from traditional Tex-Mex to more experimental stuff, international influences. It kind of mirrors the city's cultural evolution.
That makes sense. Respect for tradition, but open to new things.
Exactly.
And that all comes together in big events, doesn't it? Like Fiesta San Antonio.
Oh, Fiesta is massive. It's this huge citywide party celebrating San Antonio's spirit parades, art shows, food, music. It's incredible.
That sounds lively.
Very. And they have a great music scene beyond that, too. Mariachi, jazz festivals. Plus, good art venues like the San Antonio Museum of Art and Blue Star Contemporary. And as we mentioned, Day of the Dead and Juneteenth are really vital cultural events.
Okay, so let's zoom in on some of those must-see spots we've touched on.
Right. Let's delve deeper into San Antonio's treasures. Those iconic landmarks really tell the city's story. We talked about the Alamo, but it's worth stressing that 300-year history, starting as Mission San Antonio de Valero.
This is a lot.
For sure. And the San Antonio Missions National Historical Park, that UNESCO site, it's those 4 amazing Spanish colonial missions. But the key thing to grasp is they weren't just churches. They were complex, like little self-sufficient towns, socioeconomic communities.
Right, not just religious outposts. And each one's different.
Totally different character. Mission Concepcion, oldest unrestored stone church in the U.S. Amazing original frescoes, Spanish colonial design, hardly changed in centuries. Wow. Then Mission San Jose, they call it the Queen of the Missions. It's the biggest, almost fully restored. You see the Spanish colonial Baroque style, the famous rose window, even where indigenous people lived. The main visitor center for the park is there too.
Okay.
After that, Mission San Juan Capistrano. It's simpler, a white chapel, but it was a big agricultural and trading hub, had this impressive irrigation system, the Acequia.
Practical history.
And finally, Mission Espada. This was actually the very first mission founded in Texas, finished in 1756. It's known for the historic Espada Aqueduct and that Acequia system. It's the most complete original one in the park. They even have a working historic loom there.
That's incredible. It really paints a picture of these missions as these whole communities trying to integrate indigenous people into Spanish life.
Exactly. The goal was cultural assimilation, teaching them European ways. And it meant huge, lasting changes for those people. Their diet, language, clothes, religion, everything. This is a massive cultural exchange, sometimes, unfortunately, forced assimilation.
A complex legacy.
Very.
So after soaking all that history in, the Riverwalk sounds like the place to unwind.
Oh, absolutely. It's got such a unique atmosphere, really enchanting. And there's always something happening. Those narrated boat tours are popular, guided walking tours, bike tours, even Vespas.
Vespas, okay.
Yeah. It's really the heart of leisure and tourism in San Antonio. And importantly, it's owned and maintained by the city, not just a private tourist trap.
Good to know. And nearby is the Pearl District you mentioned.
Right. You can almost flow right into it. The transformation there is pretty amazing. That old brewery operating from 1883 to 2001, now it's the super lively complex.
What's there now?
Shops, lots of great restaurants, nice green spaces to relax, and even the third campus for the Culinary Institute of America. It's known for its local flavor, boutique shopping, seasonal events, and they make a point about sustainability efforts too. Plus, their farmers market is huge.
Sounds like a real hub.
Yeah.
Any other key community spots?
Well, Hemisphere Park is another one designed for gathering. Dining, playgrounds, unique stuff to do. They host lots of community events, La Semana Alegre, free yoga, markets, cultural festivals. Their aim is to be a vibrant, walkable district.
Nice.
And if you're trying to figure out what's happening citywide, Centro San Antonio keeps a good list: performances, tours, everything.
Okay, great overview. Let's shift gears now and talk about what drives San Antonio's economy.
Right. San Antonio's economy is this interesting mix, really. You've got these long-established pillars plus a very clear strategy for future growth. Traditionally, it's been tourism and hospitality, the huge military presence, healthcare, and education.
The big ones.
Yeah. And Joint Base San Antonio is still a massive employer, a major economic contributor.
But they're looking beyond that now, aren't they? Trying to diversify.
Exactly. There's a really proactive push into what they call better paying 21st century industries, specifically bioscience, IT and cybersecurity, advanced manufacturing, and new energy.
Okay, let's break those down. Bioscience.
You've got companies like Medtronic, Becton Dickinson, Genesis setting up shop.
And IT cybersecurity. That seems like a natural fit with the military presence.
Absolutely. Lackland Air Force Base, Air Force Cyber Command, the NSA Texas Cryptologics Center that creates a strong anchor. Plus, you have places like geekdom fostering startups. San Antonio is really becoming a cybersecurity leader. Over 80 companies in that space.
Wow. What about manufacturing?
Advanced manufacturing includes aerospace, Boeing, Standard Aero at Port San Antonio, and automotive with that big Toyota plant.
And new energy.
Focusing on solar, like Mission Solar Energy, but also supporting the oil and gas sector from the nearby Eagle Ford Shale. And it's cool to see the cultural and creative sectors emerging too. Arts, music, film are growing.
So the key takeaway seems to be this strategic shift, right? Moving away from just being a low-cost labor market.
Precisely. They're leveraging what they already have, the military, the research institutions, to build these high-tech, higher-wage industries like cyber and bioscience. The expertise, the connections, the funding that comes with those existing assets, that's becoming central to their economic development plan. It feels very intentional.
And how are the job numbers looking?
Well, recent data, like from January 2025, showed non-farm employment was up, especially in leisure hospitality and education health services. Unemployment was a bit below the national average.
With the wages.
That's the key point. The average weekly wage, while growing, is still below the national average. Same for average hourly earnings in many jobs. It really underlines that historical low-cost labor thing and why this transition to higher-wage industries is so important for them.
And who are the big players, the major private employers?
Familiar names mostly. H-E-B, the grocery giant, USAA Insurance, the big healthcare systems like Methodist and Baptist, Wells Fargo, JP Morgan Chase, also Rackspace, Valero Energy, VisionWorks.
Okay, so a mix of old and new economy there too.
Yeah, this table really lays it out clearly, those traditional pillars alongside the emerging sectors. Seeing the names makes it more concrete, shows you the structure.
All right, fascinating picture of San Antonio. Now, let's completely change gears and head way up north to the Pacific Northwest, Portland, Oregon. Talk about a contrast.
Oh, absolutely. If San Antonio is about deep, tangible history, Portland feels much more defined by a contemporary ethos. It's famous for that independent, creative spirit, right? And you see that in everything. It's coffee culture, the craft beer scene, which is huge, the maker community.
Yeah, you immediately hear, keep Portland weird. What does it actually mean in practice?
It's more than just a slogan, I think. It reflects this embrace of uniqueness, being unconventional, progressive. You see it in quirky events like the World Naked Bike Ride or the Adult Soapbox Derby.
Okay, definitely quirky.
Right. And it attracts a certain kind of person drawn to the green spaces, progressive values, this sort of community-focused living.
Does that weirdness actually impact the city's identity or economy?
Interestingly, yeah, it's almost become part of its brand. It attracts tourists, talent, even businesses that want to align with that unconventional, creative vibe. It's gone from maybe a counterculture thing to something they actively market, and that probably feeds the innovation in tech and the maker scene.
And the outdoors seem central to Portland life, too.
Massively. You're surrounded by nature, tons of parks, Washington Park, Tom McCall Waterfront Park along the river, Mount Tabor, Forest Park. Forest Park is huge, one of the biggest urban forests in the U.S., like 70 miles of trails.
Wow, right in the city.
Right there. Plus, the Willamette River runs through it with paths like the Veracats East Bank Esplanade. So hiking, biking, kayaking are super accessible, and you're close to the Columbia River Gorge, Mount Hood, the Oregon coast. It's an outdoor lover's dream.
And that love of nature seems connected to this idea of craft.
I think so. There's a huge emphasis on craft. Especially coffee. Portland's coffee culture is legendary, deep roots going back centuries. But now, it's all about third wave, even fourth wave experimental stuff.
Top coffee city, right?
Definitely. Lots of independent roasters, Stumptown, Kawava, Heart, and cozy cafes that act as real community hubs, those third places for creativity and conversation. Some are even nonprofits.
And it doesn't stop at coffee.
Yeah.
Beer, right? Beervana.
Oh, yeah. Over 80 microbreweries. The craft beer industry has a massive economic impact there, though it hit a few bumps in 2023 after years of crazy growth.
And beyond food and drink, the maker movement.
Huge. Portland's a real hub for artists, entrepreneurs, makers, lots of community studios, maker spaces like ADX Portland. It's this whole artisan economy brewing, food, cycling gear, fashion emphasizing local production, quality, craftsmanship, direct connection between maker and customer, not mass production.
So the coffee, the beer, the makers, it's all connected.
I think it is. It feels like different expressions of the same core values. craftsmanship, local sourcing, community, unique experiences. It creates this whole ecosystem of artisanal making and consuming. And that maker movement definitely creates jobs and sparks innovation.
It's not just food and drink then. Arts and music, too.
Absolutely. A really diverse art scene. Big museums like the Portland Art Museum, but also lots of small galleries, indie cinemas, live theater. Music scenes got everything from rock to jazz, tons of live venues, and apparently a legendary karaoke scene.
Karaoke, okay. And local events.
Yeah, things like the Portland Rose Festival, the Jade International Night Market, lots of food and drink festivals throughout the year keep things lively.
And Portland has this reputation for being very progressive, especially on environmental issues.
Very much so. Lots of community-led initiatives. The Bureau of Planning and Sustainability leads on climate action, waste management, clean energy, and there's the Portland Clean Energy Community Benefit Fund, PCEF.
What does that do?
It invests city funds into community-led climate projects, specifically focusing on racial and social justice, too. Things like energy-efficient retrofits, tree planting, creating green jobs. It's pretty unique.
So the city's policies really reflect its values.
It seems that way. The progressive policies on sustainability, social justice, they feel like a direct outcome of that widely recognized progressive ethos. It's like the city's identity and its governance are really aligned.
That's quite powerful when it happens.
Yeah, it creates the synergy. The cultural identity isn't just talk, it translates into actual funded policies. That probably strengthens both the city's character and how effective those initiatives are.
Okay, so if you're visiting Portland, what are the absolute must-sees?
Well, book lovers have to go to Powell's City of Books. It's legendary. One of the world's biggest independent bookstores, takes up a whole city block. It's an experience.
A whole block. Wow. Yeah. Then you've got these amazing green spaces. The International Rose Test Garden in Washington Park's stunning, over 10,000 rose bushes. The Portland Japanese Garden for tranquility. Forest Park for hiking. And the Lansu Chinese Garden, which is an authentic Ming Dynasty-style garden.
Beautiful escapes right in the city. And the food scene. We mentioned coffee and beer.
Oh, the food carts. That's essential Portland. Hundreds of them, often grouped in pods, serving everything imaginable. Portland Mercado is great for Latino food and culture. It's a true foodie capital, farmers markets, specialty shops, James Beard award-winning chefs, plus, yeah, Beervana for breweries, and lots of wineries and distilleries nearby, too.
So much to taste. What about exploring different neighborhoods or cultural spots?
Lots of cool districts. The Alberta Arts District is known for eclectic shops and galleries. The Pearl District is artsy, too. Hawthorne has vintage shops and cafes. Mississippi Avenue has live music and local boutiques. And for museums, there's OMSI, the Oregon Museum of Science and Industry, and the Oregon Zoo.
Plenty to keep you busy. Okay, let's look at Portland's economy. What are the main drivers there?
It's really built on innovation. Key industries are technology, they call it the Silicon Forest, athletic and outdoor apparel, and advanced manufacturing.
Silicon Forest. So tech is big.
Yeah, it's a growing tech hub. Software development, cybersecurity, data science. Big names like Intel have a huge presence just outside the city. Salesforce, Nike's tech division is there, Vacasa, Puppet. Tech makes up a significant chunk of the economy, and it's still growing fast.
And the athletic and outdoor apparel,
Yeah.
Nike, Columbia, Adidas.
Exactly. That industry is so deeply connected to Portland's identity, right?
Yeah.
The love of outdoors, the active lifestyle, environmental consciousness is a perfect example of how the city's character attracts and supports specific industries, which then reinforce that character globally.
A real synergy there. What about other sectors?
Manufacturing focuses on high-tech electronics, like precision cast parts and specialty metals. Healthcare is growing fast, too, especially using tech like data analytics and cybersecurity within health systems.
And the Port of Portland, how important is that?
Very important.
Yeah.
Drives a lot of the regional economy, supports tens of thousands of jobs directly and indirectly, contributes billions to the GDP. They export things like semiconductors, agricultural products, hazelnuts are big, lumber, and import furniture, electronics, cars. Terminal 6 is key for container shipping.
And Portland's role as a green economy leader, is that showing up economically?
Definitely. It's a real leader in sustainable business and clean tech. There's a thriving cluster of clean energy companies, thousands of professionals. Clean energy jobs are a noticeable part of the workforce. And initiatives like that PCEF fund and the Bureau of Planning and Sustainability actively support this sector.
What kind of companies?
Things related to EV infrastructure, battery storage, ESS Inc. is a big one, solar power, sustainable construction, even circular economy businesses that focus on reuse and recycling. There's significant investment flowing into clean tech in the Pacific Northwest.
And the economic impact of the maker movement and those artisan businesses, the breweries, is that significant?
It really is. That whole artisan economy, beer, food, cycling, fashion, it's a real source of growth. Often small local businesses, but they create jobs, foster innovation, and add to the city's cultural vibrancy. Oregon's craft beer industry alone, billions in economic output, thousands of jobs. The arts and culture sector also adds hundreds of millions.
So it sounds like a dynamic, innovative economy overall, but you mentioned some headwinds earlier. Challenges.
That's the interesting tension right now.
Yeah.
While tech salaries are good, lots of hybrid work, the region actually lost jobs in some key areas in 2024 while the rest of the U.S. grew.
Oof.
Yeah. There's concern about people moving out, net out Mike Galen. Portland's ranking for real estate attractiveness dropped significantly. Multifamily housing permits went way down. And even the craft beer scene saw some closures and sales dips in 2023.
So there's a disconnect between the strong brand, image, innovation, quality of life, and the current economic reality.
It seems like it. There's this potential gap. The question is, can that enduring cool factor, that unique identity, help it overcome these economic challenges? Or will the challenges start to chip away at what makes Portland appealing? It's something to watch.
That's a really critical point. This table here, showing the key industries and companies, really highlights that blend of tech, apparel, and the green economy.
And the second table, focusing on the green economy and makers, underlines how central they are. They're not just niche things, they're core to Portland's unique appeal, its economic fabric.
Okay, so bringing it all together, looking at San Antonio and Portland side by side. Wow, two cities that really show America's regional diversity, but they're on such different paths, aren't they?
Totally different stories. San Antonio feels so deeply shaped by centuries of history, indigenous, Spanish colonial, Texas independence. That history created this rich tapestry of heritages.
Right, the Hispanic, German, military influences are so present, whereas Portland, while it has history too, its identity feels much more defined by its recent persona progressive, individualistic, eco-conscious, creative, late 20th, 21st century.
It's like San Antonio has this strong pull from its past influencing everything. And Portland has this pull from modern values and lifestyle choices shaping it.
That difference shows up in their cultural expressions, too. San Antonio often has these big, traditional community celebrations reflecting that blended heritage, community spirit tied to shared history, local pride.
Well, Portland leans more towards individual creativity, right? Niche communities, cultural activism. That weirdness is almost a cultural statement itself.
Exactly. And their economies reflect this difference, too. San Antonio is strategically diversifying from its traditional-based tourism, military, healthcare into tech and bioscience, using its existing institutions.
While Portland's economy seems almost directly derived from its cultural identity, innovation in tech, lifestyle brands, the strong green and artisan sectors, but as we noted, it's facing challenges keeping that momentum going.
Yeah, it's interesting. Portland's economy seems like an organic outgrowth of its culture, while San Antonio's shift feels more planned, more strategic. You wonder how that affects their resilience and future growth prospects.
But despite all the differences, there are common threads, wouldn't you say?
Oh, for sure. Both have this incredibly strong sense of local pride, of being distinct. Both really emphasize unique food experiences that's huge in both cities.
Wow.
And in both places, specific districts like the Pearl in both cities, actually, or the Riverwalk in San Antonio, Alberta Arts in Portland, play a really key role in defining the city's feel. And ultimately, both are trying to carve out their own space, positioning themselves as attractive alternatives to the biggest U.S. megacities.
It really is so worthwhile exploring regional cities like these. San Antonio and Portland give you such a richer, more nuanced picture of American diversity than just focusing on LA or New York.
Absolutely. San Antonio's appeal is so enduring. History feels alive, cultures blend beautifully, and there's that warm community spirit. The Alamo, the Missions, the Riverwalk, the Pearl. It's a unique taste of Texas and the Southwest.
And Portland. It's this fascinating model of modern urban life, valuing innovation, nature, that independent streak, the unique culture, the green spaces, the maker scene, the progressive policies. It really is one of a kind.
You know, maybe the true character of a nation isn't just in its biggest headlines, but it's often best discovered right there in the heart of these unique cities. San Antonio and Portland, they each tell a compelling American story, just with very different accents. It definitely invites you to think more, explore beyond our chat today.